Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars. Let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today, starting on the 1 day time frame for Bitcoin, because of course, yesterday we saw this massive move to the downside. And in recent times in general, we have been seeing nothing but bearish price action. So what I'm going to talk about in this video are basically the key things that you should be paying attention to in the charts right now. First of all, as you can see on this 1 day time frame, we are still holding the descending channel as a level of support. And in the case that you don't know, I have been talking about this descending channel for months at this point. Now, in the case that you're not familiar with the base case on this channel, basically, so long as Bitcoin keeps trading inside this descending channel, I believe that we are at some point going to break out to the upside and come to grab all of this liquidity to the upside. I will show you what I'm talking about specifically a little bit later on in the video as well. And so far I have bought this low, bought this low, and bought this low. However, I already dumped all of my Bitcoin at this level right here and at this level right here, basically just when we reached the top of the descending channel, because both times we actually broke out to the upside on the lower time frames, but then broke back inside the range. And that for me was all I needed to see. So I dumped the entire stack at the top every single time. Now with this most recent buy, I actually bought right here at the low at 53K and sold it the first time we actually reached 58K, because you have to remember, guys, we went all the way to 49,000 and then shot straight back up to 58K. So for me, it was like, okay, that's a quick flip right there. And I sold half of the Bitcoin. So now I'm sitting here with half of my position, and the market is basically trending towards the bottom of the range once again. And for me personally, as I said, so long as we hold it as a level of support, then I think we are going to grab this liquidity to the upside at some point. However, it becomes a lot more difficult to actually stay a bull in this market here if we actually break below and lose this bottom trend line as a level of support. So the key price level to pay attention to right now, for me personally at least, is about 50,000 US dollars for the Bitcoin price. But if we are talking about confirmed candle closes below and then getting a rejection from there once again, then as soon as we see that rejection, for me, I'm just selling that Bitcoin at a small loss. And yeah, just looking for new opportunities in the market at that point. However, in the case that you're not familiar, my main trading strategy is actually on the much lower time frames, where I'm trading inside this move to the downside right here and taking long and short positions in here, instead of only being a spot buyer that is buying and holding for a year or 2 years or something. I want to make gains in these moves to the downside as well. And the links to the exchanges that I trade on are in the video description. But let's actually move on with the Bitcoin analysis here. So on this 1 day time frame, if we take a look at this MACD indicator, you can see that this bearish momentum is still accelerating on the MACD indicator. And as you can see right here as well, the 1 week RSI momentum indicator is still in this downtrend as well. And now we are really starting to deviate away from that 50 level. So the momentum is becoming more and more bearish on the 1 week time frame. Do keep that in mind. So we're talking about really high time frame moves here. We are really losing bullish momentum right now, according to these indicators here. And something that I am looking out for in the charts on these higher time frames is seeing something like this, because if we actually break out of this downtrend on the RSI, then I will flip much more bullish for Bitcoin, because at that point we are breaking a downtrend in the momentum, indicating that we might be reversing back to an uptrend in the momentum, right? So that is something that I'm looking out for on the 1 week time frame. Now, if you take a look at the 1 day RSI momentum indicator for Bitcoin, you can see that we have this low right here at, let's say, 25, 26, roughly speaking. And there is still quite a bit of room to the upside between this previous low and where the RSI is right now. So if we just take a look at this current situation here, and we assume that this is going to be a higher low on the RSI, well, in that case, we are forming an exaggerated bullish divergence. And I actually have a bit of a cheat sheet for you right here. So an exaggerated bullish divergence is when you have a horizontal low but you have a higher low in the RSI momentum indicator. But either way, an exaggerated bullish divergence could be a potential reversal signal. But yeah, of course, we do have to keep in mind that this is quite a strong downtrend. So therefore, I would say it is definitely still possible that we go lower here. And in that case, well, we would basically be forming a new bullish divergence at that point. So for example, let's say that we trade lower, we go to 51K or something, and then bounce off of there. Well, in that case, right here, we would be forming a bullish divergence because we have a lower low in the Bitcoin price and a higher low on the RSI momentum indicator, taking into consideration that we don't get a low on the RSI below this one right here. So that is another thing to potentially look out for in the charts here. But of course, don't only rely on one signal. You also have to take a look at the support and resistance, etc., and just consider the overall market here. Either way, if we take a look at the 1 day time frame on the Fibonacci levels here, we closed it exactly on the 0.236 Fibonacci level that I talked about in yesterday's video and the day before as well, which is sitting at about 53.9K. And potentially, if we bounce off of here, the level of resistance to the upside is sitting at 57,000 US dollars for the Bitcoin price. Now, there is actually another way to view this, which is if you take the wick low here, you take it to the wick high. Basically, on this 1 day time frame, we wicked down to this 0.786 Fibonacci level, sitting at 52.3K. And now we are retesting this Fibonacci golden pocket, sitting between 54.5K and 55K, right? So if you now start to see a rejection from this 55K level, well, in that case, yeah, it would look quite bearish on this version of the Fibonacci levels. So I would say consider both of these versions of the Fibonacci levels. And if we, of course, see a strong rejection from here, then be on the lookout for that new Fibonacci level here once again. Lastly, taking a look at the 1 month Bitcoin liquidation heat map. As you can see right here, we obviously took out a lot of liquidity to the downside. So we took out close to $1 billion, or I see even over $1 billion worth of long positions on this move to the downside here. And on the 1 month time frame, at least, there's now little liquidity to the downside, meaning that most of the liquidity is to the upside. For example, sitting at 60,000 US dollars once again. So if we zoom out to the 3 month time frame, we basically see the same picture. We have some liquidity left here at 52K, roughly speaking. And we have some liquidity at 49,000 US dollars for the Bitcoin price. So we might really have to actually take out these levels right here, because as I said, on the higher time frames, we are still technically in a downtrend and the indicators are also still pointing down. So for now, this is just a downtrend. We haven't really seen a strong reversal signal yet. However, we do have some things starting to show up, like that potential exaggerated bullish divergence, or just that bullish divergence if we go a little bit lower here. And we are starting to reach some pretty serious levels of support for Bitcoin, like this level right here on the 1 week time frame. And we're getting into this range here as well, especially this big level of support right here, sitting between 53,000 and 50,000 US dollars. I am expecting this to be a strong level of support. We already got one bounce off of it and basically shot straight back up. But coming back to this Bitcoin liquidation heat map, most of the liquidity is to the upside, sitting at 70.5K. And that is what I was talking about at the very start of this video here today. That is that big level of liquidity that I'm showing you right here. I do think that so long as we hold this as a level of support, then at some point we are going to reverse to the upside and actually end up taking out all of this liquidity right here. And yes, if we actually go much lower here, like for example, we actually go to this range here once again, I will be buying more Bitcoin. I will be adding more to my position, because at that point, if we just go a little bit lower, for me, it's kind of like an invalidation signal. And therefore, I wouldn't mind selling that Bitcoin at a very small loss here for the potential upside that could be coming after it, right? So the risk to reward is very, very good there. However, we aren't at that point yet. So therefore, I'm just trading the lower time frames for Bitcoin, shorting these smaller moves to the downside here and longing these small moves to the upside here. Either way, this has been today's market update. Thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.